Is NIO close to bankruptcy? Well, if you just look at this chart, you may actually think that NIO is valued for bankruptcy. And in this video, I'm going to explain this as a context and the fundamentals of valuating companies and also NIO's stock price here in this regard as an example. Because yesterday I posted this chart actually on Twitter, and by the way, my Twitter handle is _mm85, so go and follow me there. After, of course, leaving a like to this video. And the feedback that I got on Twitter lead me to think that many people don't know about such basic fundamentals of financials of companies and how to evaluate and investing in companies. And so I thought it might be a good exercise to make a video about it. So what are we looking at here is not the stock price chart for NIO over time. No, it's actually a different metric. It is enterprise value in relation to the enterprise sales or the revenues. So what is this actually? So enterprise value, according to Investopedia here, is a way of a company's total value, often used as a more comprehensive alternative to market capitalization. So the market cap is, for example, what you see here. You see it oftentimes also on any of the other portals. It's now $13 billion for NIO. And that's, of course, the valuation of the company. But the enterprise value here includes more. It's also including the short-term and long-term debt, as well as the cash or cash equivalents of the company. And so this is super important here, especially if we're now looking at the metrics here for NIO. As you can see, there was a sharp drop off of this multiple, as you call it, this valuation multiple here of enterprise value to sales or revenues in 2019, and it only found a bottom at around 2.4 times at this multiple. So that was in Q4 2019. Now, if you look at where we are trading today, we're actually trading below that on this valuation metric. So we have only 1.6 of the relation between enterprise value, so the 13 billion US dollars more or less, but also including in this metric also the cash and equivalents and the long-term debt in relation to the sales, which should be in a quarter round about 2 billion right now, right? And so if we compare this to the situation in 2019, what should have investors anticipated back then about the forward outlook to NIO? Well, of course, back then NIO was only having, like, if you look here in the income on the balance sheet, let's see how much cash they had. In 2019, in the Q4, they had only 150 million in total cash, short-term investments and equivalents. So that's a very, very low number, given that, for example, for today, this number is closer to 6 billion, so 6,000 million US dollars, a quite higher number this time than back in 2019. And given the fact that if we also look in the income statement, maybe I can find it quickly here, where's the net income? The net income for 2019 Q4 was minus 400 US dollars and only having 150 million US dollars in a bank. That gives you the situation essentially that NIO must have been priced for bankruptcy and in the Q4 2019, right? You wouldn't invest $1 with any expectation other than NIO possibly is going to lose it all and not able to pay back investors, and therefore your investment would be lost. That, of course, was when NIO traded around $2 or below that. And some of you here on the channel invested in NIO. And now we are back to this valuation metric, obviously with much higher revenues, much higher cash balance, and only slightly higher debt levels here for NIO. But it is at a similar valuation here than, or actually at a much lower valuation, I should say, minus 30% lower than back when NIO was really actually facing bankruptcy. So is NIO facing bankruptcy right now? Well, you can always say a company is always facing bankruptcy, but there is a probability that you should give to it that a company like NIO actually goes bankrupt. So back then, in 2019, maybe the probability was like 95%, right? Or let's say 90%. Right now, the probability should be way, way lower, right? Given especially the cash that NIO is having currently still on the balance sheet. But of course, you can always argue, yes, NIO is also investing a lot of money currently, so that the cash cushion is getting lower as well. But there's certainly a very much longer runtime. So here, this was a matter of days until NIO should have declared bankruptcy, whereas today they may have more than many quarters actually, if you given the $6 billion in cash, until they would have technically to declare bankruptcy. In that time, they still have many ways of either breaking even, that means becoming a profitable company, raising new money, that means, for example, diluting shareholders, but also they could now possibly go to banks and get credits, so thereby increasing the debt levels that they're having. So there are various ways for NIO to actually, change those fundamentals here. But the fact that NIO is now trading at this very common valuation metric at below those bankruptcy valuation times tells me that NIO currently is very, very low valued. And actually, you could never ever buy NIO stock cheaper, one would say, than currently in relation to this important valuation metric. And of course, there are some explanations for it. For example, also that investors in general were fleeing growth companies. Now you can get 4% simply by putting your money in a bank account. So that's risk-free in a sense, right? So why would you take on this risk of a probability of a company possibly facing bankruptcy at some point in time, which I just mentioned in NIO's case is not really imminent, but still this flight of capital by investors out of Chinese stocks, out of risk assets like crypto, like technology stocks and so on, this also really led to those type of multiples coming lower, and in this extreme example, even lower than at the times when the company was actually in fundamental troubles. So that's the information. I just want to put it out there. Now you do with this information what you want. I enjoyed giving you this information. I hope it was also a good learning for you. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.